Hi, Matt Abts here from Gov't Mule. We're on the road in Boston today, and with some of my favorite people, people from Vater Drumsticks, Chad, and been supplying me with these drumsticks for 10 years now, since 1999.
Just like others, I'm sick and tired of messing around.
Like most drummers, I fell in love with the Beatles on Ed Sullivan when I saw Ringo Starr play on TV as a youngster, and fell in love with the drums and pursued it through high school and junior high and high school. And being an Army brat, we moved around a lot. And first started playing my first bands in Panama when my dad was stationed down there. But eventually we were back in the States, and as most Army brats, just kept moving. And I moved down to Florida and got associated with the Allman Brothers and Dickie Betts. And it was through Dickie Betts that I met Warren Haynes. And this was in the 80s, in the mid-80s sometime. And after the Dickie Betts band, Warren was invited to join the Allman Brothers. And this was like in 1990. And but we always stayed in touch, and we started Gov't Mule in 1994. So we've been together about 16 years now. And new album came out last November. It's called By a Thread. And we're out on the road promoting that. When Gov't Mule started in 1994, the music business was very different than it is today in 2010. Our first record deal was with Sony, the Japanese, BMG, and we did a number of records on those labels. And for example, those labels do not exist anymore, much less CDs or vinyl's coming back. That's a good sign. But after Sony, we were on Capricorn for a couple records, and then we were actually, after that, on Dave Matthews' label ATO for 4 records. We're thrilled to actually be on our own record label now. It's called Evil Teen, and we put out our last record, By a Thread, on Evil Teen. And in the 16 years that the band has been together, we've seen the industry business change drastically, from all the file sharing to the downloads, the Tower Records going out of business. I mean, it's just phenomenal that things don't exist like they once were. But there's different ways to go out there and do it through the internet. There's a lot of DIY type situations. One exciting aspect of doing business today is we multi-track all our live shows. We spend a lot of time playing live. That's really where we make our bread and butter. We do sell records, but we sell tickets more importantly. And so we multi-track every night. We've been doing this for years now, and you can go to our website at mule.net, and you can purchase what are called Mule Tracks. And Mule Tracks is a multi-track version of the show that you saw a night or two before. And we have one of the record-selling number of downloads at Music Today, something like 2 million downloads, and we're really excited about this, and it's a good way to sell your product now that Tower Records isn't there to do it for you. Just got back from Europe, played Tel Aviv, Israel for the first time, went on to Poland, Berlin, Paris, Spain. Touring there is different. We usually combine the crew and the band on one bus, a double-decker bus, and a lot of flying. The economy is still kind of shooken up over there. It's very expensive to get around, but we're trying to develop more of an audience in Europe, and we've been going over twice a year for the last 4 or 5 years now. First couple days off the road, I usually just don't do anything. I don't even do the laundry for 3 days. Kiss the kid, kiss whoever's around, the dog, and just try to relax. But what I usually do is I usually keep a suitcase always packed. That way, you don't have to pack to go on the road. It's already packed and it's ready to go. But it's a lifestyle that I've just gotten used to, and it's a lifestyle I love. I absolutely love. This is my signature stick, the Abts 5B Nude. It's got no finish on it. I love it. We used to do this anyway. Back when I was using a stick with the lacquer on it, I'd usually have Lance, my drum tech, take some sandpaper and get some of that lacquer off, because it makes kind of slick in the hands. This way the grip is really good. And another thing I can say about these sticks is I never break them. They don't break. They might chip away, and at that point the stick is used up, but never break these sticks. And I think that's a testimony to a good stick right there. I'm old school with my drums and the way I tune them. I really go back to the big band era, the Buddy Rich, Tony Williams, Elvin Jones style of open tuning. And, there's a philosophy that the lower you tune your drums on stage, if you go out front, distance will actually drop the pitch of the drums. So, and this is a Bonham thing also. He tuned his tom-toms fairly high, his bass drum fairly high, and they sounded massive and huge. And but the pitch of the drums will actually descend by the time you get to the soundboard. So that's something to take in consideration. I used to tune my drums lower, but I found out once I would hear somebody else play them and go out front and hear them, they'd be too low for my taste. And I also like the action on a drum, a snare drum or tom-tom. When it's tuned higher, you get more rebound from the head. The same with the bass drum, and it's harder to work because your bass drum pedal is usually, to get the best sound, it has to fly off the head. So if you're always digging into the head, which became really popular when people didn't have a front head on their bass drum, the beater goes into the head and stays there, and that's kind of like that dry sound, 70s sound. So I'm totally into wide open sounds and drawing the sound out of the drum. We do a Christmas jam, what's called the Christmas Jam, in Asheville, North Carolina, every year, and all these great musical acts come, and it's a benefit. So it's right before Christmas, and there's just such a good spirit coming along. Last year, or it was the year before, we invited John Paul Jones to come to the show, and he did, and actually got to play a whole set of Led Zeppelin songs with him, and it was really thrilling. And on that note, it was very sad when our original bass player Alan Woody passed away, and we did this project called The Deep End, which was 20 of the best, in my opinion, bass players in the world, from Alphonso Johnson to Jack Bruce. We did the last recording of John Entwistle before he died. I got to play with him. Phil Les Claypool, Rocco Prestia from Tower Power, Mike Watt, Chris Squire from Yes. I mean, the list goes on. Jack Bruce from The Cream. And all these guys came in, really wanted to help us out and get us through our sorrow and our sadness from Alan's passing, and it was just a beautiful thing, and got to play with all those guys. Thank you. Playing traditional grip initially, and then I switched over to match grip. Traditional grip was actually easier for me in the beginning, and so I had to work on playing match grip. I alternated, and I still go to traditional grip, go to a matched grip. It just depends on the song, and how I want the song to feel. But I don't think you should limit yourself to any particular kind of grip. You can turn those puppies over. You can do this, and you should have a lot of options, and it makes it so much more interesting that way. When I grew up in the '60s, I was still under the influence of Buddy Rich and some of the great '60s rock bands. Jimi Hendrix Experience, Mitch Mitchell was my all-time favorite. So crushed when he passed away early this year, and you know, Mitch and Jimmy, and Mitch got such a thing from Elvin Jones. He just took it from Elvin and put it in the rock world, and I just thought it was brilliant. Of course, John Bonham is the bomb. But you know, all those guys were coming still from a jazz era drumming. They swung like hell. They really swung the beat, and you know, when first rock and roll came out, Chuck Berry. I mean, but first it was swinging, and it was even a shuffle, and then it was later on that they actually put it into a straight 4/4. Maybelline, why can't you be true? But you know, it started with jazz drummers doing this type of thing, you know, and that's really, I'm still coming from that era. I think it was the most. That's when drums came to the forefront. Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, Max Roach, and so Mitch Mitchell and John Bonham were still carrying that torch, and I think a lot of drummers should go back and revisit that. You know, there's a huge debate now of young players learning to play with a click, and that's a good thing to do, but you should also be able to play without a click also. And in that sense, the music really starts to breathe at that point, and check it out.